Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Jim Weldon with us today. Jim is CEO at Prospect Desk. Jim has co-founded six companies over the last 25 years and built a number of sales team and strategic alliances that resulted in hundreds of millions in that new business. So quite interesting guy right there. I'm eager to jump right into it. Jim, welcome to the pod. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charles. Quite the background yourself there. I've seen what you've built, It's quite the little podcast empire. So glad to be on the show. Yeah, I've been a professional entrepreneur. I thought I was a serial entrepreneur for the last 20 something years. And somebody made the distinction of serial entrepreneurs start stuff and never make any money. Professional entrepreneurs get paid while they're doing it and then have exits.
Oh, I
So
like that.
I'm very glad I'm in the second category. So I always thought I was the first one, but now you'll start to look at your friends differently and go, "Oh, serial entrepreneur, professional entrepreneur." So because the whole point is creating enterprise value for you, your employees, and your shareholders. If you don't do it for all three, I think you failed as a professional entrepreneur.
Yeah, they're like serial entrepreneurs, right? I'm a steak entrepreneur. I'm like a big boy, big time entrepreneur. No, I like the word serial entrepreneur. I think some people misuse it, but I'm glad that you clarified that because that means you had some success, right? And there's a bunch of people out there that do have a bunch of company ideas, suffer from TDHD and entrepreneurship, sort of, which is pretty dangerous because you don't make any money in the end, right? And think it's fine to stick to that when you start as an entrepreneur to find your ICP, your niche, but you need to get to the operator and scaler mindset, right? Which is a whole different set of skills. What do you think about that?
Um, I think we race too far ahead. We listen to all the buzzwords up in Silicon Valley. We got to scale, and I'm like, how about path to cash? One of the things I talk about is I don't want to hear people tell me how much money they raised because one out of 100 companies do, 99 don't. So that's not really a viable path. Um, and then the mindsets to me, it's around: are we solving a problem and I'll use the analogy of a river. People talk about the team, and I saw some of the stuff you've done. The team is critical. Okay. What's more critical is the river they're in. So you can have a good team, not great. You can have a good boat, idea, company, solution. But if you're in the right river, pointed in the right direction, the current is going to drag you down, i.e., you have an opportunity to make and cover lots of mistakes and earn money along the way. So what we found is getting in the right river is the most important thing, not operationalizing or scaling. Then we can buy our bigger boat, more people, more opportunity, more channels to make money. But to me, that's the way we look at it: is are we in the right river, and will it cover a lot of our mistakes? So another way to say it is the total addressable market or serviceable addressable market. I'm amazed at how many people are in the wrong market or don't know the market they're in.
And why would you start something that you want to sell eventually? Because I'm still not in that mindset myself. I have a bunch of companies. I would say like 80% in the micro SaaS space of things. They're each cash cows, and I wouldn't want to exit, let's say, my agency because I target my VICP. I call it. It's like serial, very serious, very wealthy entrepreneurs that just need a get shit done person for them, GTM wise. And it's fun to work with these people, and I get to invest in their companies eventually, have equity in them. And I don't have any plans of exiting, but I would exit if one day I don't like doing it, and if or I see the market's changing, and I'm being like, oh, I don't have it anymore in me, or I think that it's gonna go to shit, so I might just like get a couple of millions and get on to the next thing. So, what do you think about that different philosophy there?
I don't think it's different. I think it's complementary. I love that philosophy. First of all, we call it the milking strategy, which is if you own an entity, and irrespective of what it's in, it could be generating roofing leads, it could be generating nutraceutical leads, consulting engagements, um, access to your SaaS platform. I think if you like it and your customers keep rewarding you by coming back and paying you, and you have your people participating, whatever the people is, it could be an administrative assistant, it could be a coder, it could be a customer service person. I think if we're using those companies and cash flowing them and keeping them for ourselves to open up other opportunities. I love that, especially if there's no outside capital, because then you can do what the hell you want. And to me, that's your serial component of being an entrepreneur. You multiple tentacles, testing, and all that. I think that's a fantastic way to do it. Where I'm talking about on the exits, I haven't designed most of my companies to exit. I'm with you. What we found was is when we are intentional about, hey, you know what, this thing needs to be built a little different because it's got a much bigger footprint revenue wise, and it will be attractive to somebody. That's different than something that's intentionally built for cash flow. So I think they're complementary. I like from what I've just heard there. I think that's a
Right.
great way to keep your fingers in many pies and without creating more risk.
Yes, and every time you get to an exit, you're getting more cash that you can invest into other ventures, but you're also building connections along the way, right? Like business partners that might last over a lifetime. I see that yeah, you had 3 day tax refund in '91. I was born in '93, by the way, for the record. I see Schoolsoft there, which became Zangle.com, right? Do you still
Yep.
talk to people that you build these companies with nowadays?
Yeah, so the first six are, it's actually nine companies now. We've sold six. The first four I did with my brothers, so I still talk to them, yes, which is good. Um,
Fortunately.
What I was thinking about when you said contacts was all the people we started doing business with, and I am very good friends with a number of the original players in electronic filing and 3-day fax. We helped create that industry with H&R Block and the IRS. We were the in the original forefront of that, so that was exciting. Zangle, I still talk to my co-founder of that and what we did there, so we're still friends. But you said something to me that just made me go, "Ooh." When you make a bunch of money, the worst thing to do is turn around and invest it all again. What I do instead is now I have the ability to attract strategic partners who will
Okay.
put capital in more so than strategic investors. So I like when I can find a company that will pay us market development funds, MDF money of 100, 150, 200 grand because they can't innovate fast. So they pay us to build the initial version of something, and that would be because then I know I got a big customer distribution more so than writing checks. Writing checks, I realized I'm not a professional investor like a Mark Andreessen, not even close. So I invest in knuckleheads that are like myself, and that's not the best way to run your investment portfolio. So I've learned that the hard way by losing my money.
Let's double click on the partnership stuff. Do you mean like building a division for them with like a partnership with your products? So like they're sort of investing in your company, but you do the GTM for them. Like, please double click on that in on the specific contract of that one.
Yeah, no, that's a good clarification. So it doesn't start out that formal. It's usually somebody I'll know in my network that says, "Hey, we have this idea, but we can't execute on it." So you hit it right on the head, which is we'll do the initial product to market fit. We might even explore a couple of ways on the go to market channels, very low key. We own the tech, we own the IP. All they're doing is they're paying us to do the alpha version. They don't own the IP, they don't get shares in the company, they can't tell us what direction to go. All we do is accelerate their innovation cycles so they can solve a problem for their customer, and they probably get an exclusive for a period, but then they have to guarantee me at least seven figures in revenue. We gotten better at this over the time. What I used to do is say, "Hey, if you could guarantee us a couple of hundred grand, we'll give you an exclusive." Then what I realized was, well, that's stupid. I need to get the company funded. So, and I like to fund off of sales. Sales is the only sustainable way to fund your company, full stop.
Word on that. We don't hear that often enough. A bunch of Silicon Valley companies claim a lot of things and they raise investor money. Fortunately, these investors have a lot to lose before they start to become worried, right? But I don't think that that explains it. I think that actually develops really bad habits in founders, right? Like, hey, here's some money
100%.
and start
100%.
messing up and burning runway and not gaining any valuable piece of knowledge instead of being more strapped. What do you think?
You hit on a core value tenant. So my partner in Arizona, I'm in the Central Coast now above Santa Barbara. I just moved out last year from Silicon Valley, and I think the word's perverted. I think the capital has perverted the grit and entrepreneurial zeal that you should have in a startup, which is how do I get a lot done with a little? Not how do I piss away $20 million dollars on an A round or a pre-seed round? My God, a pre-seed round used to be half a million to a million. Now it's you could pick up 5 million on a pre-seed, maybe 10 million.
Yeah, the
So I
AI
think,
craze.
yeah, I mean that's even crazier because now there's only 20 companies that really matter on the foundational piece, but there's already 8,000 funded AI application companies. It's going to be a shit show of disaster. So to answer your question, I think as soon as I hear they tell me how much they've raised, I almost immediately will not invest in any way, time, dollars, anything. The second thing, if there's no path to cash, I'm out. And the third thing is if I don't hear the word leverage at least 3 or 4 times in the conversation, here's what I like about your stuff. You have it through everything you do without ever saying it. Yours is about the grit. It's tiny. It's about levering up. It's getting to a contact. I like the fact you don't focus on your podcast as content. It's more of leveraging to get a lead because that's what we all want at the top of the funnel is we need people to talk to sell. That's leverage to me. I don't hear that in hardly any conversations, and it's one of the things we teach to every person who comes into our company, something called leverage business development. It's a 40-page deck over 25 years of experience that details out exactly how I engineer, identify, and implement and leverage in our company.
Right. And the podcast is insights as well. It is content too. It hasn't risen to that way in the direction that I wanted to. It will eventually, right? It's pretty scalable. It's an unstoppable machine as well. But what I like about cash, other than the fact that it buys me toys, right? It's that it makes me really accountable. If someone pays me for something, like I'm an ultra runner, I do what I say. That's what's got me started in business 10 years ago. It's action over words, and I don't want to disappoint the client. And I know my value, right? I know that it's very hard for me to fail at something, especially at go to market. So what I mean by that is I could do these podcasts for years, but these conversations also they're sort of surface level for most. Most won't share all of their knowledge on a podcast. You would be different in that way. I'd say like 10 to 30% of people come here on the podcast and share everything, no BS and so forth. But if you really want to develop a nice relationship with someone, you need to trade money, right? And I've always said that in friendships, friends that you don't know if someone's a friend till there's accountability in it. And money is probably one of the greatest accountability leverage out there, right? And I've had friends disappear from my life because we got in business together. They worked for me and they would promise shit that they would never do. So I do believe in actually exchanging money and working with people to get to the next level of fun.
See, I think it's one measure of um, the strength of certain relationships. I think there's two more. One is introductions. Will I trade my personal equity and reputation open the door? There is no price you're going to pay me money wise to do that. And the other thing is ideas. Why I help you develop and leverage ideas that you have and we have, because that could change your entire life. So to me, that's leverage, leveraging my network, leveraging um, the ideas. And then I think third would be cash for me or capital. If I was going to really look at, because my network is 13,000 strong on LinkedIn, I probably know 1,500 of them really well personally. The rest are just acquaintances or I can get to. But those are mostly CEOs that have done amazing things. And if I say, hey, talk to Charles, they will.
Yep. And I love what you mentioned there. Probably my best friends nowadays, they started as clients. And again, this may be biased, but we are working on startups together and then startup ideas. And they
That's
don't have
awesome.
to pay me anymore. We're just like equity, both equity 50-50 most of the time. And every day we're accountable to just get it off the
And
ground.
you hit the key word in there. So underneath all of that is you are sharing at actually the ultimate component, which is your time, because you've built the equity, the trust, and that's where they, um, you know, I'm a much older than you, so I don't have a lot of time left comparatively. So I try to invest it as best I can to make a difference, and also it gives me the greatest satisfaction.
Well, who knows? We might crack longevity if you're following Brian Johnson. I'm pretty sure we're going to crack like full longevity in the next
Charles,
10
I have
years
a
or
feeling
so.
this isn't going to be the last time we chat. So I would hope you would reach out. Seriously, I'd hope you reach out and talk to us. And one of the things we do is we help folks like yourself that are our partners. We don't charge them to use our technology ever. That's how we build our network of business partners. We don't charge them for what we give it away because we want them to be able to sustain themselves and get to the next level. That's why we have so many partners.
Right. And tell me a bit more about what you're building nowadays. Let's double click on that.
No, I appreciate it. So one of the things we found is, and let's talk about top leads, right? So everybody, and I'll use it generically. Let's say 4 out of 5 people do their research online before they'll talk to a salesperson or get a quote. So they're visiting a website. And the challenge is right now, most companies can track you, Charles, by a cookie, an anonymous string of code that follows you around. And then we run an ad and we hope you're part of our ICP, ideal customer profile. And if you are, can I get you to take an action, pick up the phone, fill out a form, visit a website, right? That's the goal. And if I'm doing general awareness, I'm going to have to hit you 18, 19 ads, then you take an action. Well, what Prospect does is we figured out how to take all of those visitors, turn them into resolutions, real people like Charles Cormier, and here's where he lives, and here's his email. And then we go and say, is this your ICP? And there's a scorecard. Yes, it is. Oh, shoot, he's a CEO, business owner. We want him. Put him in the top quartile. I can email you because I have a valid email. Or do I just continue to get you on a click to call, which I keep pounding you on ads? What we figured out was is people really need help on the top of funnel. So here's the scale. We have 10,000 end customers we've been able to put on in less than 2.5 years. We've done 1.5 billion resolutions. And here's what that means. So in our customers, so we have some massive clients and also very small businesses like a roofing company. Let's say 1,000 people visit the website. We can put 200 or 300 leads into the top of their funnel that are prospects. Not, I don't want to call them a lead, but they're a prospect. And then they can manage them with their agency partner or their internal digital marketing manager and outbound email them, call them, whatever it may be. But here's why that's so important for them. They were already getting the visitor on the website, and only 2% of people actually fill stuff up. 98% don't. So what we do is we 10x the amount of people they've identified compared to what they got for a form fill or somebody calling to set up an appointment. So it takes your existing digital dollars and puts them on steroids, 5 to 10x better return, because we're able to identify more people that visited your site. And that's just one simple example of what we do, but we do it at scale, and we do it for the largest players you can imagine on the planet in the US.
Right. And there's a bunch of companies that do that, right? I believe retention was pretty popular last year. Not sure how much of a pivot they had. There's Apollo that already has a native
There's
function
38
with
there's
that.
38 companies and they all do the same thing. And then here's where they stop. And I know Adam very well. Adam's one of my favorite people in the world at retention, the CEO there. Here's what they don't do. Now go ahead and say, hey, okay, great. You identify them. Do me a favor, run a display ad for me. Yeah, we don't do media. We don't have a DSP. Oh, can you go find a lookalike audience for them? No, we don't do lookalikes. That's not what we do. Oh, can you do me a favor and run the analysis on our ROAS for our campaigns based on your tag technology? No, we don't do that. So what they're really good at is they kick the hell out of everybody else on the resolutions and the email marketing. And that's where he started with his cart abandonment capability on e-commerce, because that's a real valuable tool to bring Shopify type customers, which is really dominated with Klaviyo. But there's 3 or 4 things we do that they don't do. And yeah, so that's what differentiates us from them.
Yeah, and I think a huge differentiator as well on these platforms. For example, I used it with Apollo, right? But Apollo really messed up deliverability probably 3 to 4 years ago, which is why I wasn't super successful with that function. I think just one company that would fix deliverability, which is so hard and so complex nowadays. I think just like sending an email that would get in the mailbox and not just ads, right? Like to these people that visited your website, I think that would sort
That's how
of
we partner
crack
it
the problem.
instantly. Yeah, instantly has cracked that problem and done a great job. And
Yes,
we've watched what Zoom Info has tried to do with them, just like Apollo. Also, audience identifying in market audience, you got to go to Simplify. If you're going to activate this, you got to go to LiveRamp to pay them. If you're going to go look for an identity graph, you got to go to Live Intent. We have all of those capabilities under the hood. We control and own, and I don't use any of those services. I don't have to pay them. I have an economic advantage financially over them. Adam goes and pays all those. He's disclosed it, so I'm not giving any secrets away. And it's, if you go and click on their tech stack on their website, you can see how they do their waterfall. Not us. Everything we do, we own and control at scale, which gives us huge advantage on where we can pivot.
I love that. What's next for you with that company? Where do you want to scale it, and when would be a potential exit?
You never know on the exit till they knock on your door, right? So we're not putting it up for
But
sale.
you had
But
6, so now you can estimate.
All right, you're good. So I would say in the next few years, it'll be big enough, 8 figures in revenue, because it's not now. That's why I have a lot of respect for what Adam's done. He's hammered that thing up to 8 figures really quickly. Super impressed, and he's just a real button down guy. We were working on the technology side, and here's the difference I have compared to them. If you look at and I'll answer your question here in a sec, is we rebuilt that platform 3 times, and we built it in the image of Stripe. So Stripe uses one line of JavaScript code to unlock server side an entire financial ecosystem of capabilities. We use one line of code to unlock an entire ecosystem of audience building and lead generation capabilities on the server side. We've got that nailed at scale, and now I can prove it and we use it. So to answer your question is, I think when we get over a couple of hundred affiliates, we'll be large enough in the mid 8 figure range, and I think we'll be attractive to a PE firm, because I would like to sell out to a PE firm that's doing some kind of roll up in the ad tech space that needs this capability for agentic AI type workflow companies, because that's what they're missing, is they don't have that triggering capability that would drive the agentic flows, and that's our next big push where we're going. It's agentic flows. So think of automating market research to SDRs to the outbound. How do you use a tag fire to inform and trigger 6 or 7 smart AI agents within
I'm
a
building
flow?
that. Would love to partner up on that level. It's very exciting what you're building, and
I'd
yeah,
love to
I'll
talk.
accept the offer of using your platform for sure.
If you use it for yourself for free, but if you commercialize it, now we got to do a rev share. So
Yep.
that's our differentiator. I'd love to talk to you about that,
Cool.
and share what we're doing, because if you can get there faster and you're better at marketing, we'll power you, and
Yeah.
that's our goal. Is we don't
GTM,
like
not
to compete.
marketing.
Yeah, well, exactly, to go to market on that. So for us, it's we'd rather power and partner than lead in the front. Always
Yep.
rather be in the background.
Love that, Jim. Well, let's keep touch. Where can people find out more about you till we get in touch?
2 places, www.prospect, PROSPECT, desk, desk.ai, or they can email me. I answer my own emails, jim at prospectdesk.ai.
Cool. So that